Hello everyone. I hope that you can hear me. So please, if you hear me, just write yes in the chat box, please. Okay, good. I think Kinda is here. Kinda, please, can you hear me? So could you please share your PowerPoint, please? I think now I make you presenter. Okay, Kinda, can you hear me? Kinda, you can unmute yourself, please.
My slides, my PowerPoint.
Okay,
Hello.
okay, could you please share your PowerPoint?
I shared it, but
I
I'm
think
asking if you can see it.
no, we cannot see anything. It's coming right now. Right now it's coming.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right. Is it on now?
Can you make it like presentation mode?
Yes. Of course. Okay, just a sec.
I think there is a noisy sound from your side, right?
Well, I don't think that. I'm really in a clear room now. Okay. I guess you can see it now?
Yes, right.
Alright. I pressed the F5, but it seems it's not working. I'm sorry.
Okay. Can you switch on your camera? Okay, wait. I will allow you to switch on. Okay, wait. Yeah, can you switch on your camera?
Yes, it's on now.
Okay, good.
Alright.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Hello. Okay. So I guess
Okay,
you can
good.
start.
Okay, yes. Let me now. Good morning. Uh, I think okay, the recording. Let me check with the recording. Yeah. Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. On behalf of English Language Center, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Ibri-Oman, I would like to welcome you all to our series of um, teachers professional development webinars. Today, our guest speaker is Kinda Abd Al-Rahman. She's speaking to us from Syria. And just allow me to say some lines about her. Um, she's an authorized Imperial UK English teacher. She is a conductor of summative workshops and designer of personalized courses. She's an English teacher with a BA in English literature, and she has 10 years of experience in teaching English to different ages of students. Today's topic is about adopt, adapt, and improve, something related to, I think, online assessment. And now I will give the mic to Kinda. So the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Well, hello again. My name is Kinda Abd Al-Rahman and I'm from Syria. I'm very pleased to join you today. I don't know what time zone you are, but I hope you're having a great time. Now, concerning my presentation for today, as Mr. Faisal just stated, my title is Adapt, Adopt, and Improve. These three let's say, phases are related to online assessment, as online learning and online teaching has become, something we cannot escape from, something we are living with every and each single day, from 2020 until today, 2022. Now, as a start, yeah, yeah, okay, yes. As a start, I'll start with some theoretical background about assessment, just to make sure we are, talking about the same topic, talking about the same thing. Now, I'll start with some theoretical background about assessment, and then I hope that we will have the chance to have some discussion about some examples of assessment, or some example of assessment activities, assessment strategies different teachers can use in their online sessions, online classrooms, etc. Now, as the slide states, that in my presentation, when I mention online assessment, I'll be considering any means of evaluating your students' achievements, providing feedback, or moving the students forward in their learning process in fully online courses. Now, these, let's say, tools, maybe we can say these techniques, activities can vary according to your classroom, students, the
Kinda,
environment.
excuse me, Kinda, I think there is a noise from your side. It's not from my side.
Well, actually, in a in a room,
It's a,
actually I'm presenting from my work, so we have really quiet.
no, no, it's something related to, I mean, your computer
I
or your
guess my
laptop
earphone.
or your, yeah,
Or you.
yeah,
All right. Is it better this way?
yeah, yeah. Now much better.
Yeah. Okay, is it clearer? Is my sound clearer this way?
Yeah, much better, much better. Yeah, there is no noise now. Okay.
I'm sorry about it. Okay. All right. Gonna repeat the main points, the few main points I just stated. So when I say assessment in this online presentation, I'm gonna consider any means or activities or strategies teachers can use in their online. Okay, just a second. Yes, okay. So any means or strategies teachers can use in their online sessions to evaluate their students' achievement. So, and then we're gonna, I hope, to have the chance to discuss the different ways teachers can use in their classrooms in order to assess their students. So let's just start with my first thing, which is formative assessment. I'm sure every and each English teacher is aware of formative assessments. These are the assessments that we do along the course while we are teaching our students, just to make sure of their understanding of what they have, what they have received. Did they receive the information we want correctly? Can they apply it correctly, in order for us to make sure that they are on the safe side to move to the next level, or to move to the next lesson, unit, whatever is the next level is about. And the thing is about formative assessments is they are based on the learner's needs. For example, if I'm teaching my students, let's say, the if conditionals, okay, and I just want to make sure that they are using, for example, the infinitive after would. So when I do an assessment test, I can notice that some of them are still making the mistake of using the past simple, for example, after would. But since my learners have this weak point here, so I can design another formative assessment to make sure that they get the idea right, to make sure that they can apply the rule right, and they can use it correctly. So this is the idea about based on the learner's needs. Now you have a lot of examples. For example, we can, when we talk about formative assessments, we can have in-class discussions, we have the quizzes, they can be weekly, monthly with quizzes, and of course we have the assignments that we ask our students to do at home, just to make sure that they are applying what we are teaching them inside the class.
Now, the next one is the summative assessments. Now, summative assessments, they are what, the assessments that give us the, let's say, the ultimate result we have been looking forward to from the very start of the course. Now, this is, for example, when we're talking about academic programs in university, for example, we are talking about final exams. We are talking about final, let's say, assignments, final projects, okay? Now, and here we can know for sure that our students, did they learn what was our aim from the very first start of our course? Did we actually accomplish the aims we listed on our planner? So our students, they got the benefit we have been looking forward to. And some examples about it, they are the presentations. That, for example, at the end of the courses, we have the essays and we have the standardized tests like I have mentioned before. Now, talking about online, yes, talking about online courses and online classrooms. Now, online courses, they have been going on since like maybe 2018 and maybe before, but I can say 2018 because I've started online classrooms since 2018. Now, we have a lot of electronic tools, you can see, tools that can ease the learning process and give our students a really enjoyable, let's say, experience and at the same time beneficial. Now, one of the most really good tools I would like to talk about, and I'm sure that you have used it, if not once, I'm sure 3 times or 4. They are the Google Forms. Now, Google Forms are really one of the best formative assessments. I'm talking personally. Why is that? Because Google Forms, they can, for example, electronically, they can give you the number of responses. They can give you the summary of your students' answers, your students' achievements, and what are the good, bad points they have committed, for example, or sorry, mistakes. And the good thing about it is that it gives you immediate feedback. Now, immediate feedback, it gives the student if their answer is right or wrong. Now, I use Google Forms most of the time when I want them to discuss or answer questions concerning videos, or I want them to do some reading comprehension. Now, this time I will go Google Form. And actually, a really good thing about it is that it's free. I mean, we have now a lot of really cool, I can say, tools for online learning, but unfortunately, not all of them free. But the nice thing about it is that Google, actually all of Google's suite is really good for learning or teaching online. Now, this is the first thing. Now, the second thing here I'm going to talk about is self-recording. Now, I really hope if I can ask you personally, before I start talking about my experience, how did you use self-recording? What were the results? I'm gonna look at the chat box. If you can share with me your ideas, your experiences about online self-recording or making your students self-record themselves. Yeah. Maybe you can just unmute yourself and share the experience.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Actually, I tried these three, four um, skills that you already used, like presentation, pictures, even acting and interactive. So I grouped my students into small groups. So there is a head of each of the group. I give them a topic. The topic should be divided into certain points, and they are going to present. They use the pictures. I couldn't see the other one because I don't know what this.
Okay, very good. So when you give them this project, or let us say this project, what is their reaction to it?
I mean, this will build their personality facing the audience.
Yeah.
To get the confidence in themselves. To be teachers in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what I meant to do, and then they can have their own. They can ask the students themselves. Because they stand there on my behalf as teacher. I'm going to sit like the other students and listen to them. Then by the end of the class, I'm going to pinpoint certain, techniques. I'm going just to guide them to. I'm going to tell them I'm just facilitator. I'm just a guide. I'm not criticizer. I'm not criticizing them. This is the way. So and then they use the video, they film themselves, and they feel happy. By the end of the class, I can see them looking at their mobile phones. I see, okay, well, this is what we already did, and we archive this in the electronic library we have in the department. So by the end of the year, we showed the new students, okay, this is what you colleagues did last year. So you can do.
Very good. So you have a portfolio now.
Yeah, this is my project actually since I came back.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share their experience with this technique of students self-recording themselves? Yeah.
Kinda, you can follow what is written in the chat box. Some people brought great ideas.
All right. Let me check the.
Recording.
Yes, I shared them.
Podcasts and all. So my students have been using
Someone's
to record.
Yeah. All right. Now, I'm going to leave actually the chat box till the end of the session. I'm sorry. Well, thank you very much for sharing. I'm going to talk about let's say, thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Now, is my PowerPoint back? Can you see it? Yeah? Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes,
Is it on your screen? Yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. The first one, the blue one, this is the presentation. Now, actually, the presentations were, let's say, I can say, a huge step for, I'll talk about my students. They were a huge step for my students. Whenever I asked them to do a presentation, literally, they would shake of fear because they say, we can't speak English. Yes, we can read it, we can write it, but what about speaking it? I said, okay, you are taking a course just to speak, to use the language, to actually use it. Now, what I did as a first step, and actually I used it for really beginners, and with this, I can say with A1 students and even A2 students who were really scared of, talking about themselves or even hearing themselves using English. So I started with this. Do you see the first picture here? This is just, I told them to give me like 50 seconds, a 30-second video, just talking about their name, their hobbies, their job, and where they live. And that's it. Now, this first step, the students who made this step, they were, okay, maybe I can do it. Now, they actually, to be honest, they struggled a bit. They were scared to hear themselves using the language. They were scared to see themselves. They were actually, I can say, they were embarrassed. I don't know why, but I tried to build their confidence in order for them to give me just this small 30-second video. After that, I moved to number 2, which is pictures. Now, here the pictures. This is my favorite actually. Now, I used to give my students at the end of the week, maybe, or at the end of the session. It depends. A picture, and I would ask them to give me a 2-minute talk about that picture. It can be expressing their opinion. It can be talking about this picture. I just wanted them to talk non-stop for 2 minutes. And in this process of 1 and 2 about the presentation and the picture, now I here had to make sure about something, that my students were aware of how to use this method in order to benefit themselves to the ultimate. That is, I asked them to, when they, for example, with number 1 and 2, after they gave me this, let's say, presentation, I asked them about the process. Okay, how did you do that? Was it difficult? What was easy about it? What was difficult about it? What was the most, let's say, difficult thing? Did you struggle with anything? All right. And then I would give them the feedback. Okay, very good, very nice. Thank you for your effort. How about you can do 1 and 2, for example, for the next time? And this actually built a really great confidence. It literally lifted them up to a whole new level of speaking the language, not only reading it or writing it. Now, the third thing, this is the discussions. Now, discussions, or sometimes I use debates with students. Now, these, most of the time I use them, especially the debates with B2 students, sometimes A2 students, who can, for example, be able to express themselves fully and to actually build an opinion and express it correctly at the same time. I use really small, simple discussions with A1, maybe A2 students, but for B1, B2, and C1, we have really deep discussions. For example, the last discussion or the last debate I had, my students had, was about, for example, COVID-19, online learning, how they like it, what they don't like about it, do they want to go back to the face-to-face learning, etc., etc., etc. And the thing is, just like, for example, Mr. Faisal here is an organizer of this webinar. I was just an organizer. I just watched them giving and taking opinions, discussing, and all of that. At the end of the session, they, by themselves, they just said, they got back to me and said, well, we can use English now. I told them, yes, you can. It's just about practice. It's just about being confident. And the last part here is interviews. Now, I know that I'm not the only one on this. I know we've all had that student who calls us and said, okay, I have a job interview in like 2 weeks or a month, and I want to be really good at English, and the interview is in English, please help me, etc. Now, interviews, this is what I give my students in pair work. I group my students into pairs, and I ask them to interview each other. Now, this kind of activity, was really beneficial because it elicited students to make questions and to answer questions. For example, the student who would ask the question would, inside his mind, answer it by himself. And actually, I found out that by my students telling me this. They told me that, Miss, when you asked us to do an interview here, I told them, okay, well, when we were preparing the questions, both of us, we answered them, because this actually also built their confidence. It helped them to express themselves about things they have never thought about in English. Yes, for example, they can, maybe in writing they can do it. What about speaking? So somehow they have a kind of a template inside their mind they can play with, they can modulate in order to give a new sentence each time they are asked about something. And actually, it was like magic. I really love this self-recording for students to self-record themselves. It was a huge step for any student learning English in the sense of actually using the language effectively and not only be a passive learner. No, he was a really, he gave me the things, the aims that I was hoping, or I was looking forward to having for the students to have at the end of the course. Now, these, after actually I had these 4 activities, including self-recording, I have some tips actually just to share with you. Now, when I first started the self-recording with my students, I had some problems, which is, you know, the huge number of students. So, well, students work in pairs, that was one kind of solution. And it actually, I can say, it saved some time for the sake of the course to go on and not just to discuss the students' projects. Now, at one point, or I still actually use it, is actually when I ask students to do presentations. This is with some, I guess, yes, B2, C1, C2 levels, sometimes B1, not all the times. I ask them to do PowerPoint presentations. So one of the things I really had to do with my students is to ask them to limit the slides. Some of my students, they use like 20 slides. Okay, 3 to 4, that's the maximum. That's fine, okay? Because I just wanted them to speak more than just to use the slides. And again, like I said, we have PPT presentations, we have the questions, discussions, all of these. I tried to not only, of course, they are included in the course, but I tried to add like a support session that's only about speaking, that's only about discussing a certain topic. Maybe yes, my English club, for example, for my students. And then we have the self-evaluation. Now, the self-evaluation here, like I mentioned earlier, I would ask the students about the process, how they did this, how did they did that, and then I would give them the feedback and maybe some tips on how to improve their work the next time. The last point is the collecting their recordings. Now, just like I guess the first speaker, I guess Dr. Sorry, I forgot the name. He told us that they have now a library about the students self-recording themselves, and they can show the new students this. Like, you know, these students, they worked on themselves and they moved from this to that. Now, what I did is this. Now, with the very first group that I used the self-recording technique with them, I saved all of their recordings in a file, and I gave it to them at the end of the course, and I told them just watch it and then get back to me. The process of how the students moved from just saying their names, their telephone number, their job, to actually discussing a whole topic was marvelous. I was overwhelmed with all of the effort that I put and all of the results, the great results I got from students. Now, this is for me. How about a student who really saw himself develop and saw himself really jumping from one level to the other with really, I can say, sound English and really ability to actually express themselves, the ability to form full sentences, the ability to actually be able to use English effectively. Now, the third one is the self-assessment. Now, in the self-assessment, this is regarding the students self-assessing themselves. Now, the first thing we have is the can-do lists. Now, I'm sure a lot of courses, English courses, at the end of the unit or the lesson, you have like a small box sometimes, or maybe it can be a chart where the student can tick what they have learned from this lesson, for example. Now, some courses, they have like I said, little boxes where the student can tick, okay, I can now, for example, use the second if conditional, for example. Now I can use the present perfect correctly, for example. Okay. Now this is actually beneficial because I ask students at the end of the session or at the end of the lesson to go to the can-do lists. Please make sure you can do all of the following, all of the required info. And if you can't, please go back to me and we will discuss it and we will work on it together. Now, the second thing is portfolios. Now, portfolios, especially electronic portfolios, they are becoming a really major thing for us as teachers to follow along the students' development, the students' achievement, accomplishment, and how they are working on themselves. Now, portfolios, it can work for both ways, for both sides, sorry, for the teacher's side and for the student's side, meaning that both teacher and student can see how they are developing, how they are building their skills, how what's their weaknesses, what's their strengths, and where they can work on themselves better. Now, the third thing is the reflective writing, journaling, or we can say blogging. Now, this is okay. Now, this is something I love doing, but not really. Okay, I do this when students don't really, they can't actually express themselves. For example, I had students and still have maybe, yeah, I still have 4 of them who, for example, can, their listening skill is amazing, very good. Their reading skill is also amazing. But when it comes to writing and to speaking, they are not that good. They are actually, I can say, they need to work on it very, very hard. So I would tell them, okay, that's fine. Okay, so today, for example, is Thursday. Fine, all right. At the end of the day, go to your room, to your office, whatever that is, and open your phone. You have the Notes app, or you can have a pen and paper. I just want you to write what you did in that day, but in English. Okay? Write what you did, write what you thought about, and then, for example, come back to me. All right? And then do this process each and every day, day by day. This way, they have the accumulative process of actually using the words they have inside their mind and actually practicing the English sentence structure. Now, this actually really helped them to to develop the 2 skills of speaking and writing. Yes, it takes time, but it's not impossible, and it actually had really great results with the students. This is from the feedback I got from students. Now, the last thing is the soft skills. Now, if you remember, I would ask students to do a PPT presentation, for example, or for example, we have the videos and we have the interviews here. So these, in today's world, well, they got to learn, they got to use technology more. They got to learn how to use the PowerPoint slides. They got to know how to use the video and cut it, edit it, etc., etc., etc. Now, this actually also gave them like a bonus. Besides learning English or working on their skills, they also worked on other things like soft skills here. Now, before I move to the next slide, I would like to ask you a question. Now, I mentioned the self-assessment about the can-do lists, the portfolios, and the reflective writing and all of these soft skills. Now, my question for you is, in your classrooms, while you are teaching your students, I'm sure you have used these, but I would like from you, if you please can share your experiences with me, You can share any stories you have regarding the self-assessment, when students self-assess themselves, and I'd really be happy if you can share it with me. All right, I will go now to the, yeah, if you can just maybe unmute yourself and tell me about your experience about it, tell me about your uh, way of using this when students self-assess themselves. Yeah? No one. Yes, anyone? Sorry.
Drink
I
water.
think Nabina, raise your hand. Nabina?
I can't hear you.
I think yeah, you can stop sharing if you want to see
Have a glass of water.
Mm.
Yeah.
So guys, you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, and then I can call your name just if you want to share your experience. Kinda, you can stop sharing, and you see that if anyone raised a hand. So
No, I have the. I can see if someone is raising their hand. If they want to share.
you can see what's written in the chat box. Okay, so you can stop sharing, and then you can follow what's written in the chat box,
Okay.
and then you can reshare. Okay, yes. So someone said that we use the Moodle assignments for self-assessment of the learners. You can
Yeah.
see, right? You can see what's written.
Actually, I'm gonna use my phone for this.
Yeah, I
Just a
suggest this
second.
one. Is
Yeah.
it's better to use another device.
Yes, it is.
You can read, I think, from the chat box.
Um, Actually, I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Well, unfortunately.
Some say they use Kahoot. Others say quizzes. Kahoot, Quizlet. Um, yeah, Moodle
Yes, exactly.
assignments. Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, I was curious about teachers or other teachers, how they got their feedback from their students. Okay. Now, I'm sure we give our students all the time, we always give them feedback. But what about our students giving us the feedback on the learning process? This is actually what I'm curious about. Okay. This is why I asked you actually to, share this kind of experience with me because as online learning or online teaching, yes, online teaching is actually part of
Some
our
say
life. We are,
self-feedback. They use self-feedback. Others say that Google Forms, as I said, in shape of quiz and candle list on Canvas. Millimeter, Kahoot.
yes, no, I can, we have. Yes, Minimeter is a great online tool. Yes. Now the problem is with online
Classpoint
tools with me.
also.
Okay, yes, Menti. I love Menti.
Yeah, Padlets. Using Padlets is amazing for
Yes,
feedback.
Menti, I love it. Now, the
Yeah.
problem with online tools, I just want to ask if you have it like I have it too. Now, not all of my students, they have that good internet connection. So I have to go to the old way of having them presenting or record themselves and then send it back to me. I don't know if you are facing it too, but honestly speaking, not online tools, they actually work with me. Now, Menti was a really, Nearpod, yes, I did use Nearpod. Nearpod is amazing. And Menti also, but sometimes I have this weak internet connection with students, and students have the same problem. So I would resort to, let's say, safe places or safe tools to use just to make sure that the learning process goes on and on and on. I don't know if you have it. Also, Jamboard, exactly. Very good. Yes. Thank you. So do you have this kind of difficulty with your students since we are online learning or online teaching? We have them in different time zones, in different countries. Not each and every country has that good internet connection. So if you have this really weak internet connection, what would you do? What would you go to? Yeah, exactly. Connection challenge. The Moodle is also one solution. Yes. All right. Okay. Now, speaking of technology and speaking of this, still have the last slide. That's the instructor's side or the teacher's side. Now, what I really would like to highlight at the end of the presentation is this, that we teachers, okay, before having the online classroom and we have online learning and teaching, we have really a high workload of designing the course. We have midterm tests, we have the final tests, we have the projects, we have to have everything planned beforehand and ready to be introduced to our students. Now, again, we still have, with the online classroom, we still have to maintain the academic integrity, and we still have to maintain that academic goal and academic side of our lessons, our techniques and everything. This actually added to our original high workload of having the material ready, of having the tests ready and assignments ready, and also having the time for the feedback. Now, I'm sure that all of you have noticed that giving students feedback in online classrooms really takes more time than face-to-face classrooms. Talking from my experience, I had to, let's say, design, or actually not design, but to make a session weekly of 90 minutes to give students feedback. Now, this, I did not have it when I used to have face-to-face classrooms. I just can give them feedback immediately inside the class, or after the class I can ask them, okay, can I talk to you for a minute? We have something to talk about, we need to discuss something, etc., etc., etc. Now, and we have also to notice something, that's the students' isolation. Now, a lot of my students, they are all by themselves, living in their own apartment. They don't have anyone to talk to. They don't have that, real human interaction. Especially with the pandemic and everything, they all added to that isolation when we talk about online learning for students, from students' side. So I had to keep that in mind and to keep them actually, let's say, interacting with each other, giving them pair work, giving them projects to do together, like the interviews. The interviews were really, let's say, I can say they were a great solution for me and for students to actually ease that isolation part. And of course, we have the last thing, which is the technological issues. I'm sure all of us, we hope that we can, overcome all of these issues. I really hope that each and every student and each and every teacher have that really easy teaching process, and for every student have that easy learning process. One day, all of us will have that, no technological issues and no, let's say, bad time or hard time with technology. Actually, that's it for me. That's it from my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Faisal, for the opportunity. You can, if you want to talk more, if you want to share more experience, I'm on Facebook. This is my name, and I'm also on LinkedIn, and also this is my Gmail, kinda@gmail.com. Now I'll go to the chat box. If you have any questions, we can discuss. If you have anything we can talk about, just let me stop.
Thank you very much, Kinda, for your great and insightful presentation. And
Thank you.
Now I will open the floor for questions. Please, if you have questions, you can raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself and ask your questions directly to our guest speaker, Kinda. So
yes,
please raise your hand.
I'm listening.
Okay, I'm going to allow the mics, so you can raise your hand if you have questions. And for the PowerPoint, please. So Kinda will share with me, and then I will right now share the attendance and feedback link. So I will get your emails, and then I will share everything, the recording, the PowerPoint, and everything, the certificate. Okay, guys? So please, if you have questions, you can raise your questions, you can raise your hand, and then you can speak directly to Kinda. Okay, there is a question
Yes.
that was written in the chat box. That what's your simple definition of assessment?
Can you repeat it again, please?
So what is your simple definition of assessment?
Evaluation.
Can you say that again?
Evaluation.
Okay.
Yes, it's one word actually. It's evaluation. It's making sure that students that students can use what they have been learning effectively. This way you can evaluate both things. That's the learning process and the teaching process. Now, assessment can evaluate two things. Like I said, the learning process, that's the student's side, and the teacher's process, the teaching process, that's the teacher's side. This way, learners can learners themselves, they can evaluate themselves from their ability to easily use English, or do they still struggle to give me a simple sentence, a simple English sentence, or no? Do they still struggle to express their opinion? Are they accustomed to use English or no? Are they familiar with themselves using English or no? And the teacher also can modulate their teaching process according to their learners' feedback. This is actually how I work, and it actually gave me the results I'm looking for. I was looking forward to from the very start of the session. Like I said, the high workload is actually maximized because you still have to design the material, design the projects, design your students' presentations. At this point, they should be able to do this and that. If not, I have to do this. If not, I have to do this, and so on. The process goes on and on. I hope this answers your question. Yes, any other questions?
Yes. You can follow the chat box, or I can. There is someone, I think, Raouf. You can unmute yourself, and then there are other questions in the chat box. Raouf Ahmed, can you hear me?
The last message I have is great. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all. I don't know if you have any new messages.
Raouf Ahmed, can you hear me? You can unmute yourself.
Sir, you're audible now. Ji, sir. Now I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Basically, before it, I joined the late due to poor connectivity issue. So before my coming to ELT, I was studying the morphology and syntax. So just I need to a little bit talk about the flip teaching.
Yes.
So I don't know about this question is relevant or not. So
Okay, you want to share your experience about flipped learning, flipped teaching, flipped classrooms?
yes, yes.
Okay, that's fine. You can. It's okay. You're welcome.
No, I need a talk about it from you because basically I was studying the morphology and syntax, but now I'm moving to ELT, so English language teaching. So I need a discussion about the flip teaching. So if there is possibility to explain it.
Oh, you're asking me about flipped classrooms.
Yes, is it relevant about this or not?
Okay, yes, of course. Now, flipped classrooms, I'm sure all of you have heard of it. I'm sure all of you have read articles, thesis about it. Now, flipped classrooms is actually about having students to be, I can say, both learners and teachers, where the teacher can be only the organizer or the you can say the one who is observing or the observer. Okay, you are just organizing everything, and you can have your students doing the process. Now, this is actually a new thing to students before being to teachers, okay? Because as teachers, we can sometimes ask students to prepare something, and after that, they can they can come back to class, okay, and we can discuss it. This is how I used to do it in face-to-face, let's say, classrooms. Now, in online classrooms, things can get actually better and better. Why? Because students can have access to more material. They can have access to more ways of presenting their ideas. Now, flipped classrooms, I love using them with B2 students, C1 students. Why? Because through debates, I was able, or I have been able, to teach them actually the using the if conditionals, the different uses of, you can say, the future tenses, and these I would ask them to prepare a topic, okay, prepare something, and when they come back, we would discuss it, we would talk about it, and then they would have the ultimate result from themselves, by themselves, sorry. Now, flipped classroom is, from the name, is about flipping the teaching process and make students actually do this thing, do the teaching, or do the teaching and the learning, both ways. And the teacher here is just just observing and just giving notes here and there, just to pinpoint the main things, just to pinpoint what you have to do and what you not have to do. Okay, this is okay and this is not okay. Now, this is the main idea about flipped classroom. Now, flipped classroom is a really huge topic. I would be happy to give you links about it, links about articles I read, links about case studies I have read. You can just send me an email or contact me on Facebook, and I'm really happy to share with you all of the material I have. I hope this just give you an idea about flipped classroom.
Thank you, Kinda.
Yeah.
There are other questions, but please, when you fill the feedback link, so you can download your certificate after submitting your feedback and attendance. Okay, guys. So if you go back to the chat box.
Sir, is it possible to share the slides?
Yeah, sure. After filling the attendance and feedback links, I will get the emails, and then I will share it after get the PowerPoint from Kinda. Kinda, there are questions in the chat box. Okay, I can. What is the difference among assessment, evaluation, exams, and tests?
Sorry, can you read it again?
It's in the chat box. What is the difference among assessment, evaluation, exams, and tests?
Okay, just a second. So what's the difference between, I just heard tests,
Okay, evaluation
evaluation,
and exams,
exams?
test, and assessment.
Okay, I will have my answer into two groups. Now, when you talk about tests and exams, you're talking about grades. We are talking about academic disciplines here, okay? So here students are assessed according to their grades, okay? Now, my presentation, when I talked about assessment, I was not talking about academic disciplines. I'm not talking about universities, or I'm not talking about grades and anything. So once you mention exams and tests, you're talking about the grades here. Now, when you talk about evaluation, I don't remember what's the other word. There were four words, right? Evaluation and assessment.
Assessment, exams,
Yeah.
and tests.
Yeah. Okay. So evaluation and assessment here, you're just following your students' learning process. You're just following their development, their achievement, their how they are moving forward in the learning process. We're not talking about grades here. Okay. We're not talking about you're gonna pass or fail. We're just talking about teaching them how to use English effectively. Okay. So the main point, the main difference between these four words is actually one word, which is grades. Okay. Now, when you are at university or when you are at school and you have an exam or a test, of course you're going to be assessed according to your grade. But when we're talking about evaluation or assessment in a really general mode, if you can say this way, you're talking about evaluating your learners' skills, how and compare between how they started and the point they have reached now in the learning process. This is my answer to your question. Thank you very much. Yes. Any other questions?
Yes. Okay, I think there's a question from Nihal Ahmad. What are, it's in the chat box, what are the problematic areas that you have encountered in teaching English as a foreign language at various levels of language?
So the problematic areas I have faced while teaching English, yes?
For different levels of language or at different levels of language.
Yeah. Okay. Now the problem is to getting students familiar with using English, actually, with using it, not reading it, not writing it, not listening. Now most of the students, their listening ability can be developed in a really short period of time, but the challenge is, and is still, to make them speak, honestly, because they don't have that much of an input of that linguistic input like native speakers have. They just have that input with me during the session now, or they have it with their classmates when I give them pair work, when I give them a topic, a discussion, or an interview, like I said. Now the whole ultimate goal of if you remember the self-recording activities I mentioned, the whole goal was to make them use English. Now, to make them speak the language, because they are learning the language in order to use it, not to store it inside their mind. So this is actually the goal. This is actually the challenge, and this is still the challenge till this day, honestly. Yes. All right. Any other questions?
Yes, I can. Okay, it's from Ame as a guest. How do we maximize student engagement and ownership establishment in online situation to make learning organic for the students?
Yeah, this is actually okay. You remember now the title of my presentation is Adapt, Adopt, Improve. Okay. Now we have some strategies we can use. However, these strategies can be, let's say, remodulated according to the context of your teaching environment. Okay, because for example, now last year I had a group of students They were university students living abroad. They just wanted to learn how to speak English. Now, I started normally with my course. Well, later I found out that they were not really, they did not have that click with them. They did not really get into the mode I wanted. So what I did is this. I started to have the interviews, if you remember. So I started to learn more about their personalities. I started to learn more about the things they are interested in, till I found a middle ground where I could design a new course for them to get them interested, to get them, yes, an English class. I need to log in. I need to prepare for it. I want to go there, all right? I want to have that lesson. This is a context based on the learning, on the teaching environment you have actually. You have to know about your learners' needs, your learners' environment, your learners' interests. It's like having like a learner profile, a learner file, which can ease the way of, you know, designing your course, designing your classroom, designing your lessons, etc. And ultimately, where you can have a win-win side where students are enjoying the process. You are making sure, yeah, that you're doing your job, you're doing your what you have planned at the same time. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
Myself, I could not see other questions in the chat box. So please, if you have questions, we still have time to receive two questions.
Yes. Any questions?
Okay. Okay, guys, as I told you, so if you have problem with attendance and feedback link, so please try to copy and paste this link in, use another browser. And after filling the form, that there is a thank you message, and then you need to download your certificate. Before download, you need to write your name, type your name, and then download as or save it as a PDF. Okay. Um, I think no more questions, Kinda. I think it's
Well,
still early. It's still early. I think 10 a.m. in your time, in your place, and it's like a bit cold, very cold. I think. Is there any snow there?
it's actually 4 degrees today. It's 4. It's freezing here.
Okay, okay, we can see.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, guys. So if you don't have questions, as I told you, we are going to share everything, the recording, even the, no problem for the certificate. Even we can share the link for the certificate in after filling the form. No worries, you receive it. Don't worry about it. About the PowerPoint, Kinda is going to share with me, and then I will send, yeah, share with everyone through emails. Okay, thank you very much, Kinda, for your
Thank
wonderful,
you very much.
insightful,
Have a
amazing
nice.
session, and thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and we hope that. Okay, we hope to meet again and host you again in coming
Thank you.
webinars. Okay, Kinda, the
My
floor is yours. If you want to say something.
Thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you everyone for attending. And again, if you want to extend the discussion, it would be my pleasure. You have now my contact info. I hope, I don't know, I added a little bit to your knowledge as you added mine. Thank you very much for the lovely discussion. Thank you for everything. I hope you have a nice day.
Okay, guys. No, we have many thank you for you. Okay, Kinda. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And please, Kinda, I think you can share your. I think you can share the last slide. And if you have
Yeah.
anything that you want to ask or you want to keep in contact with Kinda, so you can contact her through Facebook or I think Twitter.
Yes, this is my Facebook, LinkedIn,
You
and
can
the
write them. You
Gmail.
can write them in the chat box, or you can share the last slide.
Yeah.
So yes. Okay, guys, I think it is time to say a big thank you for Kinda and for everyone. Okay, guys.
All right,
And
I've sent them.
okay, bye bye. Take care. Bye bye,
Bye
guys.
bye. Have a nice
Bye.
day.
You too.